And welcome to the InfoTech podcast. My name is Jimmy Huber, and this podcast is about the intersection between technology and business. And if you're a small business owner like me, you've always heard about AI this and AI that. It seems to be a buzzword these days. But it's not every day that you might get to talk to an AI founder. So if that intrigues you, then this is the episode for you. I've got my guest here today, Tom Gersek. Tom is the founder and owner of YouEx.ai. And Tom, I'll have you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Jimmy. Really looking forward to the conversation today. I'm Tom Gersek, founder of YouEx.ai. That's YOUEX.ai. You can find it at just that website. Our goal as a company is to close the gap between new leads and new opportunities. So it's an AI native system. It's a platform for capturing leads from web agents to having agents that then research and score and route and ultimately turn those leads into new revenue and new business. So really excited to talk a little bit about that today and, sort of where I've come throughout my career and how I founded this company. So thank you.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I actually looked at a demo in the last couple weeks myself, and very intriguing. I think some other platforms have bits and pieces of this, but you kind of really put everything together. So I'm excited to kind of get into that and see what the value is to not only our listeners, but kind of see where you're going. But to kind of back up just a little bit, it's not every day that I get a founder on here. So tell me a little bit about your journey and your background and how you came to start this business.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I've got about a 26-year career, so not the youngest youngest guy in the room, but I started as a developer, engineer, web programmer back in 2000, working on some government kind of subcontractor work with a really innovative company downstate Illinois, and then went on as the iPhone just launched in like 2007 to work for a small consulting company that was building some of the first mobile apps for business, and it was mostly for enterprise companies that were working with Salesforce. And we, over the years, especially as the iPad came out, what we found was that there, like almost every enterprise company across the planet, went out and bought a bunch of iPads for their executives. CEO bought it, CIO bought it, head of sales bought it, and they immediately went like, okay, what do we do with it? And we really were able to kind of step in and fill that gap. We built a sales tool for the iPad and closed loop marketing tool that really helped field sellers bring information in an offline fashion to their prospect and their customers. We did that with Salesforce as a back end, sold into a bunch of Salesforce customers at a time that Salesforce really had just the basics of a mobile app that they themselves were offering, and kind of caught the attention of Mark Benioff, and the company was acquired. So that was the Model Metrics acquisition of Salesforce, and that we brought mobile app development experience to Salesforce services as a part of that. And I stayed there for 12 years. For a number of years, still within that kind of engineering, architecture, mobile app space, and then moved into customer success, where I eventually led product adoption for customer success across a number of like really, really big changes in Salesforce. They, around 2017, launched something called Salesforce Lightning, which was a complete revamp of the UI, UX experience of Salesforce that did away with a lot of old features and brought a lot of new features, and it created this gap where for the first time customers of Salesforce really had to say like, oh, I can't just keep using it, I have to make some changes, I have to roll out something new. That had never really been done before, and so we really helped Salesforce customers across that. And then use some of those same learnings, the ways in which we worked with our customers and learned from them, and really drove adoption journeys to drive security programs, multi-factor authentication, and then ultimately moving Salesforce customers from their own data centers to the cloud, to what they call Hyperforce, which was mostly Amazon Web Services, Salesforce hosted on AWS. And then I moved on to, I kind of followed a friend to a company called Altimetric, which was one of OpenAI's first implementation partners, and actually the first implementation partner working with. They worked with, prior to us, these consulting, but we were the ones that came in and helped their top customers, a lot of banks and wealth management and pharma companies, roll out and adopt ChatGPT Enterprise and API programs, things like that. And through that, what I really saw for about 2 years was a lot of companies really able to roll out 20,000 seats of ChatGPT easily and get some value out of it. They were able to integrate with email and write better emails and things like that. But when you really dug into it, they weren't getting deep workflow benefits without investing a lot. And a lot of them were just like, hey, why can't we just do this? And so we did a lot of projects where we were kind of building kind of deep workflow integrations. But with AI, people want to move fast. And when you show up and you're like, hey, it's going to be 6 months of work, then you kind of lose the interest pretty quickly, and people
Sure,
start looking
sure.
for point solutions. So that's why I founded UX at the beginning of this year. I founded it in February. The idea was really to say, let's try to automate a workflow and to really not try to automate away from people. And that's why the name is very intentional. The name is UX because
Got
intelligence
it.
is not
Got
enough.
it.
The user experience, your experience is what really matters, what really drives value. And that's the seller experience in this case. We want to have a tool that is really helping sellers to be the best of their, do the best that they can to supercharge their own abilities, to automate away a lot of the things that are just, time sucks. So, if you're spending a ton of time researching people before you call them, like let's just do all of that. So you have a research report to read, you know, do the things that the best sellers do. Because that's what we really found with a lot of both at Salesforce and working with OpenAI customers. What we really found was that if you could help a company identify who their best people are in any one scenario and help them drive, like figure out like what makes them even better, that kind of raises the bar for everybody. And then if you're able to make that person like solve their problems, you're able to solve other people's problems because they're probably relying on that person for some things. And you can really help everybody and really understand a use case that much better. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to say, okay, who are your best sellers? What do they do? They research, they like score, they qualify, like do a lot of those things and free up that person's time to spend more time building relationships and really kind of building trust and ultimately selling in a B2B space. So
Yeah.
that's the goal of UX.
I love that. You've covered a lot of ground there. So basically, you took an enterprise career and identified some holes that this product literally fills. Because I feel like a lead gen and the back office work for most entrepreneurs or owner led sales companies is the bane of our existence. I mean, I don't, I've been there myself. You get me on the phone with somebody, I'm good. But the minutia of, like you said, the research, the lead gen, all that back office work is it can get pretty sticky and drawn out. So you're not saying abdicate to AI. It's not like it's going to replace people, but would you say like it will enhance what's already working for people and make them more effective faster? Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, that's the idea. And I think right now the industry is missing that point a little bit. It's really
100%. Yep.
missing because you talk to leaders like, sales leaders or IT leaders, and they're really trying to determine if I roll out AI, how many SDRs can I get rid of? That kind of a thing. And I don't think
Yep.
that's the right lens. I don't think that's the right way to look at it. Because if you look at areas in the industry where we are seeing a ton of success with AI, it's actually creating job growth. If you look at Anthropic's numbers around adoption of, Claude within enterprise, use cases or business use cases at least, engineering way ahead. It's like 50+% of engineers are using, Claude Code and tools
Sure.
like that in their day-to-day jobs. And the people that are the ones that are growing their career that's the hot ticket right now. And it's, you're getting more and more demand for those jobs where you have people that are really comfortable with using AI tools and going that much faster. So I don't think what we have, like, there's always going to be job disruption with any technology, but I think, as a, person who works, the thing that you can really identify is where can you succeed, and where you can succeed is knowing how to use the tools, being really good at using those tools. And so I think one of the things that's missing in the space is really tools designed for sellers. If you take a tool that was designed for an engineer and think about like, okay, now we're going to ask them to stitch together 8 different point solutions with something called Zapier or something called N8N or,
Yeah.
something called OpenClaw, like
Yeah.
is that really, if you're a sales leader, is that really what you want your team like working on? Or would you rather they're just talking to people and selling deals,
Yep.
like it's,
You got two sides of the brain there. Yeah, they're not
yeah,
going to be compatible. Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think this is great. I mean, as one that kind of has my foot in both areas, like I can kind of geek out about the tech speak, but the prospect does not care. The prospect needs a human that can interact, right? So it makes me wince when these other products come out that are like, hey, replace all your SDRs, like you said. Like, we'll do everything for you. Well, people are already trying to figure out, like, oh, this isn't a human, you know, Kevin in my email is somebody else. And there's a place for, that kind of thing. But people still want the human interaction. And I think that's going to be the differentiator in the next several years is like the human piece, like in-person events. People with that human interaction, like they're going to crave that because it's being wiped away in a hurry. So I love the fact that this platform wants the human aspect. It's just an enhancement of what people are already doing. So if you're a user, what can you expect practically? What are some steps? Like, is this going to help me? It's going to give me a list of prospects already pre-vetted that I can then reach out to, or what are the actual use cases for a typical salesperson?
Yeah, so our goal and our theory and what we kind of believe is really that most companies have more leads than they really know what to do with. And, if you think about, you can buy 1,000 leads almost as a commodity right now for $50 from a variety of vendors, right? Like, so getting email addresses that meet your ICP is not that hard at this point. Getting people on the phone, however, is. And so I think if you really design a system where you're able to capture leads that much faster, and so the first aspect of what we have is a web agent that you can put on your website in order to collect information from the visitors of your website. And the reason we think that that's important, statistics show web agents, like chat agents that people use and find value in, are 2 to 3 times more successful in converting ultimate business than web forms. And the reason for that is if you're on a website and you can't find what you're looking for because the website is too complex or the data is just not there or whatever the reason is, you haven't found the answer to your thing. If you're filling out a form, you're probably annoyed at that point, right? Like, you wanted the answer. You didn't want the answer tomorrow. You wanted the answer today, but you're filling out the form and now you got to wait for someone to follow up, and the person that follows up might not be the right person and they got to forward it to somebody else. And so you're already in this like annoying kind of category of problem. However, web agents are really good at having agency and answering your question, right? Like, that's the idea. You have a web chat bot that's able to index your entire website, and your website might not be that well organized. You might have 200 blog posts for a customer just the other day that has this problem, or other content there, blog posts, or over the last 10, 15 years and isn't really, really well organized, but the data's there, the content's there, you just can't find it. So we index all of it. You can deploy a web agent to a website in 5 minutes. And if you go to YouEx.ai's YouTube channel, you can see this. Like, I proved it, that it'll index a website, you can get it on your website in 5 minutes or less. And the really important part of that is that then it will help a person navigate and find information on your website, but it'll also ask for their information. It'll capture their name, their email address, the lead information that you're looking for in exchange for an offer, right? Like, if you want to say, here's a recent Gartner Magic Quadrant. Like, people do this with forms today, which you have to fill out information to get. So just say, here, we can give you the Magic Quadrant. We'd love to send it to you. What's your name and email, and get that. My own website, if you go to it, YouEx.ai, we were just talking about this. If you know to ask, you can ask the agent for 50% discount. It will give you a 50% discount for the first 6 months of using YouEx.ai.
Well, that's cool.
You just have to know to ask for it. Little Easter egg in it.
Yeah,
you can
exclusive,
do things like
only on the InfoTech podcast, right? You can't get that anywhere else. No, just
not anywhere else. You have to know about it from InfoTech. Absolutely.
There you go.
And so you can offer calendar invites. You can offer all sorts of things with an agent in order to get that information. We also have business card capture if you're at a conference. I think conferences are a really interesting space for lead generation too,
Absolutely.
which is, Salesforce. I've been to more Dreamforces than I can count. I've been to more industry like Money 2020. I've been to Google Next and AI conferences, and everyone you go to, there's an expo, right? And everybody's got their booth and they're showing things off and they're badge scanning with whoever hosted that event's badge scanner.
Yep.
And by the end of that event, you've got like 1,000 leads in a spreadsheet getting sent to you from Salesforce or from Google, and all of it has is like just name, email, whatever notes the person happened to type in before they went and talked to the next person. And following up on those leads is just this like horribly futile task because you're like, okay, I need to sort through them and figure out which ones are the hot leads and which ones are the not hot leads and which ones do I need. And by the time a lot of companies follow up with more than a marketing email, like a lot of people will just upload them to the marketing platform and they'll get the form email. It's like, hey, great to meet you. And it's like, okay, great. And everybody deletes it. But really following up and saying, great meeting you. Remember we talked about X. I'd love to set up some time. By the time a lot of companies get that email out, the person's totally forgotten about them, forgotten about the product. Like, you were at a conference, you went to 10 different booths, 100 different booths, whatever it was, you've forgotten about them. So really, how do you make it that much faster and say, okay, I have the spreadsheet. I can upload the spreadsheet from them on Monday and have the emails out on Monday, and not wait a week of moving them around. And then that way you can also route using AI to the right seller at the right time and make sure, okay, this person was interested in our healthcare product. Let's make sure the person that talks to them is our healthcare expert and do that in an automated AI-based way so that the first call isn't with some random person who doesn't know that product that you then have to schedule a follow-up call because you had the chance, you had the first call, and you don't want to blow that first call, So ultimately, those are some of the things that we do. We make it really easy to capture leads. You can get a lead into UX through the web agent, through a spreadsheet, through a business card, through Zapier, through eventually Salesforce. We'll have a Salesforce integration pretty soon. But we want to have, any way you can get a lead in there, because at that point we can really research it. We present a really great research report. That research report based on each individual person is then used for each next step of that journey, scoring, routing, nurturing, sending the emails, helping somebody with their first call, prepare for that first call. And then it's also important for that first call. And, as the person's looking at it, the best sellers are doing research. And if you're selling in a B2B space and you're selling $100,000 or $1 million contracts, you're probably actually spending a lot of time doing research. It's not just a cursory 5-minute research, right? Like you're taking the time to really know. And most good sellers I know are also then mapping out the account. They're talking to this person. They know that person's boss. They know that person's boss's boss. They know this guy, right? They're mapping out that network of people within that account. So that's the next thing we're adding right now is the ability to take a person that you're talking to and find out who their peers are, who's in procurement, who's in sales, who's in, who are these other people within the company. So you can understand that much more about the company that you're working with.
Yeah. So you're bringing not only the speed of the follow-up and the churning through the tons of data, but you're actually enhancing that data and making it more relevant for that salesperson. So say I get home from an event, I've got all my stuff uploaded. The next day or whatever, I can go through and I get a report of like, hey, here's the top 20 that you should contact. Here are the notes type of thing. Or what's it kind of look like for that person? I mean, they don't have to do anything in the middle. They're ready to kind of make those outreaches themselves. Like it basically just serves it up to them.
Yeah, even better than a report. And we do have reports. You can upload that spreadsheet of 1,000 leads. It will go through each individual one, research each individual lead, present a report based on 4 factors. The first is really, is this a worthwhile lead to follow up with individually? The second is, who is this person at the company they work for? Are they an executive? Are they a buyer? Is their title something like procurement? Are they a C-level executive? Are they somebody who has purchasing authority or influence based on what you can tell from their own website? The executives on that website are usually listed somewhere on their site, and you can find out who they are. Or they have a title listed on LinkedIn that says procurement, things like that. Like those are, important leads to follow up with. Yeah. We also do a broader search of the internet about the person. And that's important too. As you have a conversation with somebody, what are the things you want to bring up and talk about? Usually you don't want to just jump right in and start pitching. You want to we went to the same school.
You want to connect with them. Sure.
You want to connect, so it gives you some of that kind of background. Like, what is this person interested in? What do they write about? What are they, on LinkedIn posting about? Things like that. And then the fourth step is to really target some individual sites to give better information based on, and this is important in certain industries where you might have, like, in the tech industry, people post on LinkedIn and Substack and those kind of things, right? If you're in medical like industries, doctors probably aren't that much on LinkedIn, but they're on other sites. They're on, physicians registries and things like that with reviews. And so finding information on specific sites can be really important too. So we do all of that. And then, yeah, it does, we really try to automate a lot of that busy work so that when you have a lead assigned, you get an email with that, lead assigned to you. That's based on the research, the intent that was captured with the lead initially. It's matched to you based on what we know about you as a seller. If you're good at this, you describe yourself basically in the system so that there's a AI-based match. And then you have the lead to follow up with. So yeah, there's a report of all leads, but also it's individually assigning leads to the right seller at the right time with the right information.
No, that's so cool. I mean, I'm going back into my own sales career, and almost everything you said I've had to do manually. You know, LinkedIn, like Sales Navigator, that's a great tool, but you have to go in and click all the things and find all the people, for you. Like this is basically doing a lot of that work that takes a lot of time and serving it up. So I think that's really useful. I've dabbled with a couple of these things, but they don't do it all like you do. Like at InfoTech, we do have kind of a chat bot on our website, but that's all it does. It doesn't like hook into anything. It's just to get people that are on our website to do something more. I mean, I've done like the email cold outreach, but that's kind of all it does, right? It goes back and forth, and then when they start responding, then I jump in, right? So it's getting there. This seems to be like a more inclusive thing where you're capturing the data, and then it's producing something for you to then take it to the next step, which is really cool. You mentioned that I think you started in February, you said. So this company's pretty much brand new, right? So what have you seen as you've grown this out? I mean, you've clearly come a long way in a short amount of time. You have a ton of great experience behind you. What are some struggles that you've seen, from the business side, that you want to address, in the next 3 to 6 months? Are there sticking points that you can see, maybe even this tool helping you get your own prospects and people in the door, or what's your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like the thing that I knew that I'd be able to do really well was to build a team, to build the app, to get the app to market, right? Like that's the thing that I've done again and again and was not concerned about whatsoever. So we've gotten the app to market in a little under 3 months from February and launched it in May. So we're really excited to have it in the market and really starting to get feedback from our first customers and really be able to kind of grow with them. I think that's one thing I also learned driving adoption at Salesforce was if you could get something out before it was 100% finished and get feedback, you'd have that much better of a product, app, feature, whatever it was.
Sure.
Because you'd start to hear, people would be like, why does it do this? And you're like, I don't know. That's a good question. We should change that.
Yeah.
So those are the things that are going well. As a new company and as a startup, I think one of the biggest challenges is just getting the word out, marketing, and having, getting people to start to trust you and to believe that this is the app for them. Because there's always competition and there's always people doing something similar,
Sure.
and you want to stand out.
Yeah.
And you forget when you're working at a company Salesforce is 80,000 people. Altimetric was about 10,000 when I left. OpenAI is obviously huge. You forget
Yeah.
how much of the machinery is helping you. And so when you're like, okay, it's me and some friends, you have a little bit less of that. So that's where we're starting to build some channels. We'll have an offering on the ChatGPT App Store pretty soon. We'll have an
Nice.
offering within the Zapier app kind of exchange and the Salesforce app. Well, now they're calling it Agent Exchange, but we'll have an app
Yeah.
in there as well. So we're building
Okay.
channel distribution to really get more into the
Yeah.
marketplace that way as well.
Yeah, so people are going to find you easier. I mean, you beat me to my next question, which is what's next to come. So like you're wanting to position yourself as the end all be all in that space for salespeople. So yeah, I can totally understand. They're already using chat or whatever. They're going to be able to find you and dump that in. Where do you see it going in the next 1 to 3 years? It seems like the pace is so compressed. Like the doubling of value, which used to be every 18 months, I feel like now is about every 3 weeks. The last couple weeks, other things I've seen online, they're actually rolling back. It seems like the AI hype a little bit and saying, hey, it's actually you still need the humans, and they're pulling back a little bit. So where do you see this going? I mean, obviously the human piece is super important to you, which I think is like 100% spot on. Yeah, where do you want to go in the near term?
I think riding hype cycles is really interesting because you're trying to identify where you are in a hype cycle. I
Sure.
think the real
I love
hype with
that term.
AI was like a year ago or whatever, where people were
Hmm.
like really excited about it, and then you have this like trough of disillusionment that like people talk about as being this area of frustration, of pulling back, of not knowing what to do with a tool, and I think that's a great place to invest. And that's I think where we're at right now, where is companies saw an initial spike and we're excited about something and that's where everybody gets excited and starts building, and then you get to this like disillusionment space where it's like, okay, it didn't do everything I wanted, it didn't, and that's what I think we saw with the initial launch of like AI into businesses, where people were like, okay, I can get basic value out of it but not really in depth. And so I think the time of like figuring that out is that like trough of disillusionment that I think we're sort of in right now, which is like there's companies that are reevaluating and rethinking about it. And it's not just move as fast as you can. It's like plan and come up with a solution. And so that's sort of why I chose this time to really invest, because I think the growth is I think the market is expanding in this area. And there are so many point solutions that frustrate IT buyers, that frustrate sales buyers. Like what you said, which is basically most sales tools today solve like one little problem. You can put a chat agent on your website. You can go and you can download a bunch of leads. You can, and the Salesforce is aside, like, obviously that's a big solution and it's a big
Sure,
enterprise
sure.
tool that does everything that you could possibly imagine. But there's also all these like little solutions. And so I thought to myself, like, for a mid-market company, who might not have the budget for a Salesforce, but needs more than stitching a bunch of tools together. What could we build? And that was the initial idea, which is to say, okay, let's build an end-to-end solution that does all of this for you, that automates a lot of it with AI. But then now that's what we're building, is the integrations with other systems that people are using. We want to be the tool you can use in whatever interface you're already using, right? Like if you're already using Claude, cool, we have an MCP. If you're already using ChatGPT, that's great. We'll have a ChatGPT app. If you're already in Salesforce, great. We'll have an Agentforce app, and we'll be
Yeah.
able to, have the app drive that workflow. Because the important things that are happening are the things that are happening without a UI. It's the research that's just I uploaded 1,000 leads, and I went on a bike ride, and I came back, and all 1,000 were already researched.
Yeah,
Like
that's
it's
wild.
yeah, yeah.
That's gonna be the next thing I do after this call. So I'm gonna put our database in here because
Do
I
it.
hadn't gotten that far yet.
Yeah.
Because that takes so much time. And I mean, your pricing's on your website here, so I just have it over. I mean, $15 a month for 100 leads researched for an individual user account. I mean, if you're an IT in a box with 5 people, you can afford that. I mean, we're not talking Salesforce dollars here, like you mentioned. So I think that's a pretty low cost to entry, especially if you're chatting and saying, "Hey, I want 50% off." I mean, there's really no reason not to at least kick the tires with it. And yeah, I mean, everybody's already got some tool they're doing, right? No one's sitting on their hands. So the fact that you want to meet them where you're at and not completely reinvent the wheel and make them start over, I think that will go far. Um, with the time we have left, Tom, I always try to give back a little bit to the younger entrepreneurs that might be still in that startup phase, kind of like what you are, trying to figure it out. What's one piece of advice you would give them, and meeting them where they're at, that maybe you've learned in the last 6 to 12 months on your own journey?
I think, one piece of advice I've always had, and one thing I've really believed in my career, is just persistence. And I think that the people that are the most successful are the ones that just continue to persist. The best sellers I know are the ones that send, people will send easily, hey, one email and then say, oh, they weren't interested. And they send another email and, oh, they weren't interested. The best sellers I know are the ones that did that for 9 months and eventually won the deal, and it's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
and that is true in so many industries and so many roles and so many businesses where, people might lose interest, people might move on, and you can really see a lot of success by just being the one that's still trying.
Yep.
And so I
Yeah.
think persistence is a really good value to have. That's suited me well throughout an enterprise career, and hopefully it's suiting me well now.
Yeah. I could totally see that. I heard it said once that you can correlate a person's success by how many uncomfortable conversations they're willing to have, right? Like there's almost a one-to-one relationship there. So I completely agree. The squeaky wheel tends to get the oil. Tom, I think you might have mentioned it earlier, but if people want to reach out to you, I'll definitely put all the links here in the show notes to your website and everything. But what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm easy to find. If you go to UX.ai, it's YOUEX.ai, ask the chat agent. You can set up a meeting with me pretty easily. You can also just email me at tom@ux.ai. And also, like I said, ask the chat agent for a discount. It'll give you a discount. You can set up a free trial. And if you'd like a demo, I'm more than happy to do that as well.
Awesome. Well, it's been great talking to you. Thanks for sharing your story. And yeah, if you're listening out here, check it out. YouEX.ai. And Tom, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, same here, Jimmy. Thanks so much for having me.